Hello guys, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is my voice okay for you? Answer please. Good. So let me upload the new file for this session. Where is the file? Again, I'm looking for it. Yes, it's the file. It's being uploaded. The lecture is being recorded now, so you can access it from Dersa. If you go to recorded sessions, you can see it. Look at this picture, top right of the window, you can see a red circle. This red circle shows you that the meeting, that the session is being recorded. I will give you the PDF file after the lecture completed, okay? So please be patient because I am changing the PDF in each session, so you must wait to complete the lecture. For example, chapter 1 is completed, then I can give you the PDF file. Don't worry about it. Okay, the PDF file was uploaded. Let me zoom it. Can you see the PDF? Is the PDF file shown for you? Okay, good. We are still in chapter 1. After I finish chapter 1, so I will give you this PDF and we will start the chapter 2. Well, I want to see how many students are in the class now. Only 18 students we have here. It's not good. The 19 is me, so we have 18 students here. And it's not good. No, I don't like it. Please participate in class. Please attend in classes. It's very important for your mark. So tell this fact to your friends too. Okay. I think the next session today we will have again with you at 6 p.m. Isn't it? Our next session is today at 6 p.m. So we have 2 sessions today. Okay. Now we are ready to begin our class. But first of all, I want to offer my condolences. You know, tomorrow is the anniversary of death of our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa Salawatullah alayhi wa ala abah tahirin. and tomorrow also is the anniversary of Imam Hassan Mujtaba alayhi salam. And so I offer my condolences. You know what means condolences? What does it mean, condolence? It means tasliyat. Well, if I want to say it to in Farsi, I can say عرض تسلیت داشتم به مناسبت وفات حضرت رسول اکرم و امام حسن مجتبی علیه السلام. And you know, it was understandable for you, I think, because it was very near to Arabic. The most was in Arabic, in fact. Did you understand what did I say? Yes, I think we will have two lectures today. The first session is now, and the second session will start at 6 p.m. So yes, we will have two sessions today. Good. I think I introduced myself last session. Is it our first session or the second session? Did we have previously a session? Yeah, it's the second. Okay, so I don't repeat this information. I just repeat just this note that if you want to send me an email, please mention your complete information about your name, about your course code, because I have 3 different courses about distributed systems at Imam Reza University. So your course code is very important too. And about our reference book, I told you our main reference is Distributed Systems book written by Andrew S. Tannenbaum. And I remember told you that you probably will find this book in Arabic. So did you search for it? Did you look for this book in Arabic? I want to be sure if there exists or not. It's been translated to Arabic, I'm sure. You just take time to search it and to find it. This book can help you, really. If your English is good, so you can use English edition of this book, the original book. Otherwise, you can also use Arabic book. Okay. The name of book is Distributed Systems, Principles and Paradigms, as you can see. This is the cover page of the book. You know the title, Distributed Systems, and the subtitle is Principles and Paradigms, written by Andrew S. Tannenbaum. Mr. Aqil, can you see the picture? It's the cover page of the book. Okay, no problem. Good. So please find this book in original English or in Arabic. There's no difference for me. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. Oh, it's about the mark you can obtain this semester. Again, I told you that final exam is not efficient, is not enough for passing this course. Final exams has only 6 points and you will get 14 points in the semester. Your attention in the class and your activities, your project, and maybe your conference. So be careful about attention in the class and also doing your assignments and homeworks. I will explain about it later, okay? We also talked about the definition of distributed system. I gave you this maybe complete definition. A distributed system is a collection of independent computers that appears to its users as a single coherent system. In this definition, we have two main concepts: independency in computers and coherent system. So pay your attention to these important concepts. A collection of independent computers that appears to its users as a single coherent system. There are many different other definitions for distributed systems, and this one can be good for our purpose. Mr. Hossein Reza, I said that when I finish this chapter, I will upload it and I give it to you in Darsa. So don't worry about the PDF. Please be patient. Wait until I finish this lecture. This is lecture 1. This picture, as you can see, is a sample of a distributed system. We have 4 computers or 4 machines. In fact, what I mean by machine is computing machine. And we connected these machines together by a network. So each computer has its operating system. It is the meaning of independent computers. Computer 1 uses operating system 1, computer 2 uses operating system 2, and so on. But the whole system should be appear as a single coherent system. I mean, the user must see this system as a one system. If we satisfy these two concepts, so we will have a distributed systems. Got it? It's very simple. I talked about it last session and I suppose that you understand it completely. Good. Well, I want to tell you a story, a short story about computers. It's not the story of my life. It's a short story of computers. Uh, I hope you like stories. Okay. This short story, in fact, is a true story about computers. In 1942, a man called John Mauchly proposed an all-electronic calculating machine. The US Army in that time needed to calculate complex wartime for ballistic missiles. So they needed to have a powerful calculator. The result was a computer called ENIAC. Have you heard it? You must hear about it before. ENIAC stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. This big computer was made in 1945. It's about 75 years ago, more than 7 decades ago. Sorry, I think my connection was disconnected to the from the server, and you didn't hear me for a few seconds. Now I think you can hear me, and all things seems to be good, and the connection is good. Okay. You need to translate to Arabic? You mean you ask me to speak in Arabic? It's impossible. I don't know Arabic. I can speak in Farsi, and also I can speak in English, but I cannot speak in Arabic. So one you can do is to buy the book in Arabic, translated book, and follow the lesson from the book. Okay, so as I said, the story of computer systems, yeah, I was telling about ENIAC, which was made in 1945. I said that this big computing machine, which was in fact a calculator, was very big, and inefficient. The meaning of efficiency in computing systems are very vast. So here I am speaking about performance. The performance of ENIAC was very low. I mean, the number of instructions that it could be calculate per second. Say 1 instruction per second or something like this. After ENIAC, mainframes appeared. Computers were being smaller. But until 1980, they were still big because they were heavy and they were not efficient too. As you can see in the picture, these computers are still big. Moreover, they consume a large amount of energy. As a result, they produce a lot of heat. Do you know what is heat? In Arabic, I think you can say hararat. They produce a lot of heat or hararat. And that is why I said they were inefficient. So I stamp them as inefficient too. In that time, transistors were made. So these mainframes were smaller than ENIAC, but they were still big and heavy and inefficient, as you can see in the picture. Okay. And next. Starting in the mid-1980s, I mean about 1985, two advances in technology began to change the situation. What situation do I mean? The situation of inefficiency. So, in that years, two advances in technology changed this situation. The first advance was the development of microprocessor or powerful microprocessors indeed. Do you know what is microprocessor? What is microprocessor? You must have a good answer for this question. This is a simple question for a master student of computer. Yes, the microprocessor is the unit in which it calculates operations and it produces instructions and execute programs. So The first microprocessors initially were 8-bit machines, but after a few years 16 and 32 and even 64 bits CPUs were born. Who can explain about these different CPUs or microprocessors? What is 8-bit machines? What is 32-bit machines? Or what is 64-bit machines? Who can explain about that? The first one has only 1 byte. 1 byte it what? One byte in what? What was 1 byte? Eight digit. To complete your definition, I can say that as you may know, I'm sure that you know that microprocessors and CPUs have some bytes to access the memory. For example, if you use 8-bit microprocessor, so you can have access to 64 kilobytes of memories, okay, in RAM. It is 2 power 8, in fact, 2 power 8, which will be 64 kilobits, 64,000, I mean. If you have 6-bit, no, 16-bit. I made a mistake here. After 8-bit machines, I must wrote here 16 bits. So a 16-bit CPU can access to 2 power 16 different modules or parts of memory. So you can use a larger amount of memory in this machine. In the same way, in 32 bits CPU, you can access to 2 power 32 different modules in memory, and so on. And the newest one is 64 bits CPUs, which can address 2 power 64 different modules or parts of memory or other parts of the computer. Did you know it? It was new for you. (256-bit). No, I asked you, did you know this information about different microprocessors? Or it was new for you? Oh, okay, good. So let me continue to the next slide. You can search about it to access more information about it. Do it Do it now. Just Google it. For example, type 32-bit computing system or 64-bit computing system. Search it now. It will be a good review for you. So to better understand, please check it on the internet. I asked you to Google it now. Just type 16-bit computing or 32-bit computing. Is it a rule, Mr. Muhammad Jafar? The higher the number of the bits, the higher the processing speed. Is it a rule? It's not a true rule, but it can increase your power in calculating, in processing. Okay. Here is some information about 32-bit computing. As you can see, the bottom of image. Look at the bottom of image. Range for storing integers. A 32-bit register can store 2 power 32 different values. It's the main difference between 32-bit microprocessor and 64-bit microprocessor. Okay. So the speed of improvement in computer technology was very high, as I said. In the last decades, it's very, very high. From a machine that cost $10 million and execute only one instruction per second. I mean ENIAC, the first electronic calculator. It was a machine that cost $10 million and was able to execute only one instruction per second. We came to machines that cost $1,000 and execute 10 million instructions per second. This is the advancement of computer technology just in a few decades. just in a few decades we got this development and advancement. It can indicate the speed of development in computer technology, which you can compare it with other industries. I mean, if you compare this rate of development in computer technology with other industries, you will find that it's very, very high. It's very, very high. For example, imagine if we had similar rate in cars improvement, then you could buy a Rolls-Royce with only $10 now. Imagine the cost of a Rolls-Royce would be only $10, in which this car consumes only 50 liters fuel to drive all over the earth. You could drive all over the earth with only 50 liters of fuel. So you can see that the advancement and development in computer technology is very, very high compared to other industries, for example, in car industry. I said you that ENIAC was made in 1945. One instruction per second. And in a few decades later, in 1980s, about 35 or 40 years later, we had some computer machines with $1,000 and 10 million instructions per second. So this advancement is incomparable with other industries, in fact. Is it okay for you that I am speaking in English? Can you completely understand my speak? I'm not sure that my accent maybe isn't good for you. I suppose that you may have some difficulties to understand me correctly, and so I need your feedback. Please tell me. Thank you, Mr. Abhab. What about other students? You know, I have been in New Zealand for a few months to live there. In New Zealand, people speak English with a very, very strange accent. It's very difficult accent. So it may affected my accent too. That is why I asked you if it's okay for you or not. Do you know where is New Zealand? New Zealand is the end of the world, I think. In the middle of ocean, Pacific Ocean. And it's a very, very beautiful island with very nice and beautiful landscapes. The environment is perfect, really, really. But The only thing that you may suffer there is about the accent of people. Their accent is very, very bad and is awful, really awful. It takes time to understand their accent. So, good, okay. Let's continue our lesson. Okay. We are in 1980. We are in 1980s decade. And as I said, two development was occurred in mid-1980s. The first one was about the born of microprocessors. We talked a lot about its results. Now I want to speak about the second development that occurred in 1980s. Before I continue, I want you to guess this big and important development. Who can guess what the development was? What was the second development that affect computer technology? Start to be smaller than before? No. Microprocessors made computer systems smaller. Microprocessors, okay, make computer systems smaller and cheaper. Not expensive, cheaper. But the second advancement, high-speed processing, less power cost, speed. We talked about the speed. Come on. Powerful microprocessors had a very high speed of operations. It's not about microprocessors. It's about the other advancement in mid-1980s. If you agree, we can continue our speak and our lesson next session. Do you agree to take a rest now? And it will provide you a good and sufficient time to think about this question. If you answer this question, I will get a positive point for you. So think about it, and we will start and continue next session 1 hour later, okay? Thank you. Have a good time. Bye now.